Oopsie, go back. Okay, there's still some people coming in. We'll just let them in and then we'll get started. Yeah, I have no idea why Facebook wouldn't let me stream it into my group. However, it doesn't matter. This has been recorded. So whoever wants to watch the replay, come watch the replay. Okay, and breathe. Oh, I can see your messages coming through. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Titi. Hi, Jeanette. Hi, Catherine. Hearing me fine. Thank you, Catherine, for letting me know. It's so lovely to see you all here. Thank you for joining me and giving me your time for the next hour. I'm going to do my best to keep it to an hour. Every time I do these master classes, I kind of try to upgrade them a little bit. And then I think, oh, I've probably packed in too much information. So this is quite a chunky one today. Oh, hi, Claire from New Zealand. Amazing. Love New Zealand. Gosh, it's late for you, right? It must be a little bit late for you. Okay, feel free to ask questions, make comments in this chat box. That would be great to hear from you. The more engagement, the better for me. Then I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, let's dive in. We've got a lot to get through. Let me just double check I'm recording because I'm paranoid about that not happening. Yes, all good. Okay, so in this masterclass, this is one that I've designed to really help you, first of all, understand why it's so important to understand your beliefs, your subconscious beliefs that are running the show, but also then what to do about it, because awareness is the first step. But then we need to know, like, okay, how do we change these beliefs? What do we do about these beliefs that are getting in the way and holding us back? So I'm going to teach you how to identify and disembody limiting beliefs, because they are actually stored in our body, and embody new beliefs that are going to serve you way better so that you can really step into a new way of being and build a successful business in a way that feels good. No more hustle energy, no more like bro marketing, just having fun, keeping this light and excited and creative. Okay, so this masterclass, it's open to anyone, of course, any ambitious women who really want to sort of tap into their potential. But my passion is working with established business owners. But established business owners who kind of feel they are maybe scared at the thought of putting yourself and your offers out there. So I work with a lot of women who have incredible talents, amazing programs and offers, but there's this fear of increasing their visibility and really sort of working on building an audience, putting themselves and their offers out there, including asking for the sale. You might also feel overwhelmed at all the moving parts required to build a sustainable and successful business. So for me, the nuts and bolts of a successful, thriving business is an incredible offer and an audience. You need both, right? But of course, when you dive deeper into this, you start learning more about branding and funnels and lead magnets and email list building and all the things. And it can leave people feeling really overwhelmed. Hands up if you've ever felt like this. You might have a really established business that's doing pretty well, but it just feels so hard to grow it and to maintain it. And there's this feeling of relentlessness. Like growing your business shouldn't feel this hard. Everybody else makes it look so easy, especially on social media, right? So let me know if any of this resonates with you. Give me a little yes in the chat box if any of this resonates with you. And then you get to this point, I think, where you are just done. You're done holding yourself back and you are ready. It's like you're at this sort of tipping point. You are ready to step into your higher self. Your muddled mindset is costing you big time. You just have this inner knowing that you are holding yourself back because of consistent negative thinking and feeling. So yeah, let me know if this resonates with you. So a quick backstory. I recognize a few names here, which is great. Thank you so much for coming along. And there's some new names as well. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gemma, Gemma Gilmore. And I, by trade, was qualified as a behaviour analyst. So I have a background in psychology, an undergrad from Edinburgh University, and a master's degree in applied behaviour analysis. And I spent 15 years building a business, working with children who have, mainly they were children who were autistic, but lots of other special additional needs as well, ADHD, including ADHD and some other weird and wonderful diagnoses, but it was mainly kids with autism that I worked with. Oh, Louise says, yes, ready to step up. Yes, Louise. So here's me working in my little therapy room, coaching a mum and working with her little boy. I did this for 15 years and I built a really, really successful business. I built up a team. We served clients across Scotland, overseas as well. But I realized when these guys came along, this is a very old picture now. The youngest there is now 5, nearly 6. But when I started having kids, I realized that I only had a certain number of hours in my day. And working with autistic children was incredibly challenging. And I sort of came home absolutely empty, running on empty, no more energy to give to my kids. And so I thought there must be an easier way to build a business. Oh, thanks, guys, for this cute photo. I was a professional photographer, I have to admit. My photography skills are not that good. I wanted to have more time for my kids. I remember bathing my babies, literally writing emails in my head to clients or thinking about programs I could develop to help kids how to eat better, to talk easier, to play better, all this stuff. I was the opposite of being present with my children. I was in my head, always in the future, always thinking what I'm going to be doing, planning my business. And it was exhausting. It was really tiring. And then the world stopped. Lockdown happened. And I think it was a real opportunity for a lot of us to just have a moment to reflect on everything. Do I like my husband? Do I like my kids? Do I like my job? Do I like my life? It was a moment for everyone to sort of think about what they were doing and did they like it. And there was something that was really bugging me. I just couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. I was trying to build and scale. I had by this point built an online business because I thought, you know what, the way to make more income whilst making a really amazing impact is by moving things online. So I built a really amazing group coaching program for parents who had autistic children. I developed a membership and that was all going really, really well. But I seemed to hit like this glass ceiling. I couldn't quite get to where I wanted it to be. And so in lockdown, somebody had said to me, you need to see a mindset coach. And I thought, I don't even know what the hell that is. Like, what are you talking about? I'm a scientist at heart. But this is honestly how I felt. I'm a bit obsessed with gifts, by the way. If you don't know me, that's something you should know about me. I love a gift. I just felt utterly frustrated, like not just exhausted, like physically drained, but just emotionally and mentally exhausted as well. I was not where I expected to be, and I was fed up and just totally deflated. So I thought, you know what, I am going to invest in a coach. I'd invested in business programs and courses, marketing, selling, all the business side of things, but I'd never invested in myself, like personal development. I'd read some books, listened to podcasts, never actually really implemented anything, just consumed all the information. And then I decided to hire a mindset coach because I wanted to look like Wonder Woman over here. That's my sort of idol. I was like, wouldn't that be amazing to have that sort of bravery, to feel that courageous, rather than feeling like, oh, I feel like I need to do a PhD or like publish a book. I definitely had those like beliefs and thoughts. I wasn't an expert unless I was a published author and had a PhD. And so I constantly battled with imposter syndrome. So here's the kid. He's a wee bit more grown up. I did 12 weeks one-to-one with a mindset coach based over in Canada. And it was pretty life-changing for me because in the first session, I went to her, I've got imposter syndrome and I've got this and that and the other. And she was like, I actually don't think it's so much a confidence problem as it is a misalignment problem. I think you've actually fallen out of love with your business. And I took that not very well. I was very defensive. Actually, it surprised me how angry I kind of got. I got really defensive. This is my baby. I've built this up from scratch. how dare you kind of thing. And she was like, whoa, red flag. And of course, when I sat with that, I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. So I thought to myself, how can I help other businesswomen who are juggling motherhood like I was, still am? My kids are now 5, 9, and 11. Build a business that they love, to create a life that they love, but without working harder and longer hours. I was like, I know this is possible because I've seen it. I've seen other people doing it. So how can I help myself and other women do this? And then I thought, how can I help women take a leap into the best version of themselves? And I know that sounds cheesy, but I genuinely believe we are so much more capable than we think we are on a surface level. We have got so much to give, us women, especially when women come together. And my mantra really is a woman empower women. I totally believe in that. So realizing that one of my escape behaviors was to invest in courses, I was very hesitant about investing in yet another course because that was one of my classic self-sabotaging patterns. I'll just throw money at it, buy another course, and that'll fix the problem. And of course it didn't. But I did genuinely want to invest in a course that could, I mean, my background was very much in psychology, behavioral psychology, of like observing and measuring behaviors that you could see, less about the inner stuff that was going on with thoughts, feelings, belief systems. So I found a course and I did that, and it was incredible. I went through it as a client, and now I am trained in delivering it as well. So I am now a certified quantum leap coach, which sounds very cool, doesn't it? So since doing that course, that's been about 2.5 years now. I've been a guest speaker at multiple in-person events and online events. I typically have a full one-to-one client caseload, and I charge premium prices, which took me ages to get my head around in terms of money mindset blocks. I also deliver an intimate hybrid group coaching program. I've got Mastermind. I've got an ebook coming soon. I've massively procrastinated on that, but I have just sent it off last week to the guy who's going to help me get that all organized. But the most important thing is I love what I do. Like if I had you here all day, I could talk at you all day. I absolutely love what I do. But of course, like the best bits are helping the women, right? Going from stuck to unstuck. Like this lights me up. So this is Abby, who I worked with one-to-one last year. And she says, Gemma has led me on a journey through stuck emotions that have held me back, all or nothing thinking, and a deep sense of not being worthy. She has to date given me a wealth of ways to find new thinking patterns that have really started to shift my mindset. I'm doing her one-to-one coaching. However, I do feel that wherever or however you connect with Gemma, you'll be richer for it. Abby is like blowing my mind with what she's creating. She's now in my mastermind, and she is like just on a roll. It's just so beautiful to have seen her just literally flourish and blossom. And she was hugely stuck in procrastination when we met last September. This is from TJ, who's just like an absolute doll. So she said working with Gemma was like a big hug and a blanket. She wasn't afraid of giving me a kick in the arse when I veered off course and got me back on track. She's a great listener and can shine the light on the invisible blind spots. That is one of my expertise skills, by the way, that were keeping me stuck in old patterns that are not serving me anymore. Highly recommend working with Gemma if you feel stuck in life and need help moving forward. Banter's also spot on. Yeah, I do pride myself on my banter. Thanks, TJ. So it's interesting. I actually looked back the other day on all the women I've worked with right from the very start of opening this business about 2.5 years ago. There's only one, because there's quite a few women who are I've worked with who are employees, not business owners. And every one of them I've worked with has quit their job. Apart from one who's a lawyer, and she got a new job as a partner in a law firm. But I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Okay, moving on. Here's the hard truth, ladies. Most of you aren't getting the results you really want, not because your strategies are wrong, not because you aren't good at what you do, but because you aren't ready for action plans and strategies. And nobody's talking about this, right? All the business coaches out there, all the blueprints out there that you've got to do it this way, this way, this way. Nobody's talking about this missing link. that people are not ready for taking the big messy action that is absolutely essential to scaling and growing your business because it doesn't feel safe. So just for a moment, I would love for you to imagine what kind of, well, this is what I thought, and you can imagine this as well, but I was like, what kind of impact I can create if I guided women through a step-by-step live coaching program. Because having been a serial coaching program or program buyer, because I was honestly that I can't even think about the amount of money that I must have spent on programs, but most of them were self-study. Now, only 10% of people who buy programs actually finish them. So it's like, it has to be live. It needs to be a live experience that really builds unwavering trust, confidence, because everybody wants to feel more confident, optimism, because we all seem to be very good at having this pessimistic lens, resilience, that bounce back ability, and more. So that's what I did. Okay, question time. I want you to take a moment, ladies, and have a little think about this. If your success, whatever you define that to be, because it's subjective, if your success was guaranteed, what would you be doing with your time? Just type it in the chat box. Have a little think about that. If it was a done deal, like you've ordered it on Amazon, right? Your dream life, your dream business, your dream career, your dream house, your whatever it is, and you've put it in Amazon, bing, ordered it, and now it's going to be delivered. So you don't need to be on your laptop working really, really hard, checking your emails, checking your socials. What would you be doing with your time if that Amazon delivery guy showed up with exactly what you wanted? Claire says, coaching women. Yes, Claire. What else? I mean, as much as I love coaching, I also quite like yoga. I also love being in nature. I also love traveling. I also love getting together with other like-minded women. Louise says, empowering my team from my motorhome touring around Europe. Yes, Louise, I love that. One of my first one-to-one clients, Louise, her big dream was to get a camper van and to teach English as a foreign language from her little camper van touring around Scotland. Catherine, I'm already doing what I love, building apps. Yay. Jeanette, traveling, walking my dog, meeting friends. Yeah, we'd relax, right, into playfulness, like carefree playfulness. We would just relax into trust. We wouldn't be in that sort of like need to cling on to control and make it happen vibe. So I want you to now ask yourself, with those answers that you've given me, why aren't you doing it? And this can be quite a hard question. So why aren't you doing what you've just typed in the chat box? What is holding you back? And I've given you some prompts here, some little clues, because these are typically the types of answers that I get from my clients. So it's a fear of being judged by others, fear of not being good enough, fear of failure. And also, this comes up more than you would think, a fear of success. You know, all those celebrities that are like catapulted to fame and then they just lose it. They lose all their money, they get involved with drugs and alcohol. They can't cope with it. They literally don't know how to cope with success. Okay, let me see. Rossi says, would love to travel more, not work full time. Yes. And have more time for using my imagination and develop ideas, run my own charity. Yes, I love that. Okay, so what is holding you back? What is it that's stopping you from doing all of that? Claire says, all of those plus needing a steady income. Yeah, the money, right? It really holds us back. Like, well, I need money to survive, right? And I get it, we need to pay our bills, but it's probably not the number one reason that what if I can't make as much money as I do now doing what I love? I totally get that one, Claire. It's an interesting one to really think of. And then once you sort of, you've thought you've sort of nailed a few of these, you'd be like, okay, let's say you are judged by others. Let's say, you're not good enough. Let's say that you do fail. What do you believe about that makes you feel fear? So then you can take another layer up, right? Like, what meaning do you attach to all of this? And the worst case scenario, yeah, you're not good enough, actually, or people do judge you. What do you believe about that? So it's another really good question to ask. Rosie says, fear of letting others down, colleagues, family, myself. Yeah. And so what's behind that? Fear of being rejected and abandoned. Louise, practically still have teen at home and elderly dad. Yeah. So we need to make sure our like essential needs are met, right? So there's like what I do, but I think it's the behavior analyst in me. Like I get to the root core. Like we dig. And then typically what I find is there's these sort of three universal core fears. There's the fear of not being good enough, the fear of being rejected or abandoned, and the fear of trusting more and giving up control. And that last one is something I've really been studying over the last few months in relation to that fear and in relation to that sort of need to feel that you're in control, because none of us like to feel out of control, or what I call powerless. And that I need to do another masterclass on that. It's fascinating when you actually get people to really drop into that feeling of the unknown. Sometimes people refer to it as the unknown, out of control, powerlessness. And then there's this sadness, this instant sadness that gets connected with that. And because it's so uncomfortable, we jump out of it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in this presentation. But imagine those fears that we've just talked about were just like, we just hit delete and they just didn't exist. And you were able to move out of your comfort zone and do new things from a place of playfulness, curiosity, openness, and expansion, rather than that kind of contracted, fearful, anxious sort of feeling and having to protect yourself. This is the state that I decided I wanted to step in every single day. Playfulness. I literally have a post-it note up here saying, would this be fun? If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. From a place of playfulness, curiosity, openness, and expansion. So you're open. I always say to my clients, you don't want to be those horses with the blinkers on, in case they're like, get scared of traffic. You want to be open to possibilities. So yeah, whilst a lot of coaches tend to focus mainly on action plans and strategies, because that's the exciting piece, right? The majority of people are just not ready for that, because they're still stuck in paradigms and identities that prevent them from taking action, because they're just not aligned with this new way of showing up in the world. And I have personal experience of this, because I'm an action taker. I'm actually not really generally a procrastinator apart from my ebook, but I am an action taker. But I came at it from this absolute heavy masculine hustle energy, just like forcing myself to do it. Didn't work out great. Okay, so here's the one thing you need to understand. You need to transcend your idea of who you are and what you assumed is possible for you based on your past. We are all living our current identities from what's happened to us in our past. It's normal, it's natural, that's what we do, based on the history of all of our experiences that have shaped us and what society have taught us. That's the work, right? That is the work. So yeah, it takes transcending your old paradigms and really then awakening to and deeply aligning with a whole new way of being. So if you strip back, like an onion, it's got layers, strip back all of the identities you've had as a wife, sister, daughter, friend, business owner, and you just strip all that back, all the like societal conditioning, and you're just left with the purest form of you, that I am, or essence. What's that? What does that feel like? This is what I've been exploring. When you can strip away the meaning you have attached to powerlessness, that's when you can connect to this. It's very cool. Yeah, you need a transformation. That's what you need. It's what we all need. So transformational coaching, I've sort of dithered between calling myself a mindset coach and transformation coach. And I'm sort of leaning towards the transformation coach because the definition fits. So it's taking it to the level of your identity, your sense of purpose, and the way of being in the world. I really like that. So surface level thought work, it just isn't enough. Okay, it's just not going to cut it. So beyond identifying the core beliefs that keep you stuck, because that's what's driving the show in your subconscious mind, these core beliefs, you also need to recognize the patterns and distortions that are holding those beliefs in place. So I'll give you a few examples of what I mean by that. All or nothing thinking. You think in black and white categories. So if I fail, if I make a mistake, then I'm a failure. Everyone's going to see that and I'm going to be a failure forever. You just go boom, like black and white categories. Discounting. So you focus, you might have had like tons of positive reviews or testimonials or appraisals, whatever. And there was this one little negative thing and you just focus on that and you discount all the good stuff. I think that's such a common one for women to do. Mind reading, fortune telling, you're literally making stuff up in your mind of what's going to happen as if you're some sort of like psychic. Worst case scenario thinking, yeah, same thing. You're just jumping to like, oh God, but what if this happens? Emotionalizing. I want to tell you about this one because this is the sneakiest one that I find really holds us in our stuck state. So emotionalizing is basically where you have a feeling of like, let's say it's like feeling of self-doubt, like I'm not good enough, that sort of feeling. And then you have a thought. And because the thought matches the feeling, like who do you think you are? Like you're not a public, for me, you're not a published author, you're not like you don't have a PhD, so you're not an expert, so you're not good enough. So you have the thought, you have the feeling, they sort of correspond. So you believe the thought to be true. And it's not true. It's just a thought. Thoughts are not facts. They're just a perspective, right? Just a lens. So emotionalizing is so crucial to really be aware of, because just because you're having a feeling and just because you're having a thought that seems to match doesn't make it true. You really got to like be on to that one. It's super sneaky. But there's quite a few of these cognitive distorted thinking patterns that once you're aware of, you can be like, there I go again. All or nothing thinking, confusing human being with human doing, making your sense of self-worth dependent on what you do. That was mine big time. I had that. I'll never forget when I first started building my online business and my autism business. And I was so excited about putting out some webinars and they were like £10 each, super cheap. And I sold 3, I made £30. And I instantly took it to heart, like, oh my God, I'm only worth £30. Not consciously thinking that, but over time, that's what was happening. It was really toxic. It really got my self-esteem. I just chipped away at my self-esteem over time. So yeah, lots of distorted thinking patterns that hold these core beliefs in place. Got to be onto them from a place of like humor, I would say, not judgment. Yes, these patterns of thinking about yourself and the world, other people also, that show up in one area of your life, and then those patterns will drive all other areas of your life as well. So this is what's so cool about the system I use. We pick one context and we dive deep into it, and we figure out how it's all being, how you're structuring this and you're creating this, and then that system is replicated in your marriage, in your relationships, in your friendships, in your business. So it's pretty cool once you have that awareness. Okay, so question for you now. If you brought more awareness to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, do you think it would have a dramatic impact on your business? And I'm just really curious as to what you think about this question. So just be honest. Like if you brought more awareness to your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, do you think it would make a difference? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think about that. And then here's another question, a tougher question. If you could break free from self-sabotaging tendencies, so perfectionism, procrastination, things like that, by embodying beliefs from your future self now, ahead of time, would that allow you to show up in your business in a way that feels good? Okay, so if you could step away from the stuck state by embodying beliefs from your future self, the you who already has the dream goals all done, would that allow you to show up in your business in a way that feels good? Catherine, not sure. I think it would help when I'm feeling a bit discouraged about how slow growth is going. Okay, yeah. Rosie, yes, definitely. Has it helped me to see what thoughts are holding me back? Yeah. TT, yes, I think so, even though I'm not a business owner. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So if you're not a business owner, just apply it to your career or, whatever else you want to create and grow in your life. Okay, so there are 3 natural stages of transformation: clearing and healing. You've got to open Pandora's box and just open that can of worms. There's no avoiding it, really. And then awakening and aligning. That's the exciting piece. And then it's the inspired action right at the very end. So, like I said earlier, while a lot of coaches tend to focus mainly on that last stage, the inspired action, the majority of people are still stuck in old paradigms and identities that prevent them from taking action. So this is the piece I'm really passionate about. So let me ask you this. Have you ever tried taking an action in your business or in your life, if you're not a business owner, and even though it kind of felt really icky, like you were like, this doesn't sit right, this doesn't feel good, you kind of force yourself to do it anyway because that's what's expected of you or that's what you're told to do? Has anyone ever done that? I've done that plenty of times, especially when it comes to business building, and I've bought all these courses and invested in coaches and they're like, go to do it this way. And I'm like, okay, doesn't feel great. It feels a bit cringe, but I trust you. I believe you. I'm going to do it anyway. Yes. Yeah. So that is why the first phase, that healing and clearing stage, is so essential because we want to create inner safety. Okay. And this is where you need to start in order to create a life-changing experience so that you take action that is inspired action. You're not doing it just because somebody tells you to do it, but it actually feels really good. It doesn't feel cringy or icky. So this first stage about healing and clearing, we're going to focus on uncovering the core limiting beliefs, memories. So I call them reference experiences. So memories that, you're are coming up every time you feel triggered, and emotions that are holding you back from creating the life you want. So many of us, taboo emotions. We do not want to feel powerless and out of control. So we jump right out of that and we get into frustration, confusion, stress, anxiety, anger, all those lovely states are so much fun because we're all escape artists. So here in this stage, we need to dig deeper into the reasons behind your procrastination, behind your fear, your need for control, and other ways in which you're feeling stuck. So all the anxiety, fear, confusion, stress, overwhelm, procrastination, perfectionism, they're all symptomatic, right? They're all symptomatic. What we need to do is go one layer deeper, maybe several layers deeper, to really find out what is at the core of this, what is holding this in place. Then we can work on releasing and clearing those limitations so you are ready to open up to new possibilities. So it really is all in your mind. Beyond identifying core beliefs that keep you stuck. So by the way, I love this photo. This is from a Norwegian photographer, and it's literally how I imagine the subconscious mind with all the beliefs as these lovely little lamps all lit up. So beyond identifying core beliefs that keep you stuck, you need to recognize the patterns and distortions that hold those beliefs in place. So all the things I said earlier, the all or nothing thinking, the discounting, the mind reading, all that stuff. So your subconscious beliefs, let's imagine that each one of these lights is a memory or a belief, a program inside your subconscious brain. And the ones that are repeating and creating your life right now are the ones that are lit up. Okay, so let's imagine that all those lights in that beautiful forest are your beliefs that are running the show right now. How do we change them? If you don't love the results you're creating for yourself and you want to make a change, how do you change your core beliefs? You need to change what's in your subconscious brain that's being lit up on a daily basis. So you have a conscious brain, the front of the prefrontal cortex at the front, and you have a subconscious brain at the back. It's the old brain. It's very primitive. It's wired to keep us alive. It does 95% of our thinking. 95% of our thinking is done in our subconscious brain. We're not even aware of it. Only 5% is in our conscious brain that we are aware of. The depressing part about this is that 75% of that 95% of thinking is negative. Yeah, it's really depressing. So we really need to change what's in your subconscious brain that's being lit up on a daily basis. So we want to dim down those lights that are really unhelpful thoughts, and we want to light up helpful thoughts. That's the work. So we want to get the thoughts we want to think using that prefrontal part of our conscious brain. We want to get that stuff that we create, and we want to get that automated in our subconscious. So that's what's driving the show. Does that make sense? Give me a little thumbs up or a little yes if this is making sense. So what does this all look like? Thank you, TT. We want to install new helpful thoughts into your subconscious. So thoughts that serve you much better. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Jeanette. We want to get new helpful thoughts into your subconscious so that what's being recycled and automated creates what you want. Okay, so you have to actively and consciously think the way you want to think until your subconscious decides to light up that lamp. Now, this is the work. It's so interesting when people say to me, what do you do mindset? But like, what does that even look like? And I'm like, yeah, I know it's really difficult to understand, but basically this is the work. So when I'm in the shower or stuck in traffic or waiting for the kids to do their swimming lessons, I am doing belief work. I am consciously and actively thinking better thoughts that I want to get locked in my subconscious, because that's what's driving the show. That's honestly when I do it. Okay, so when you can change your thoughts, you can then change your behaviors. So when you can change your thoughts and your behaviors, you can change your results. So there is a logic to all of this. Okay, so you take actions or inaction based on how you feel. And your feelings are evoked from the thoughts that you're thinking. Okay, so if you want to take a different action, then you need to clean up your thinking to create a different emotion. That's why this is so important. But most of us on the hamster wheel, just busy, just too busy with the to-do list to even think about this sort of inner work, which is all about the energy behind the action. Okay, what's the time? Yeah, I'm never going to get through this in an hour, but bear with me. Let's dive in. Okay, I want you to, in the chat box, tell me if you recognize any of these. Binge watching Netflix. Procrastination. Now, procrastination is a really interesting one because a lot of people think it's like walking the dog or cleaning the house or, going to the gym or doing anything but the job at hand. But it can also include busy work. So this was me. I was like, I'll just do all this really busy work over here, that jobs that need to be done, but not the needle moving jobs, so that I can give myself like a pat on the back because I've worked so hard doing all this busy work. That's also procrastination. Ruminating. Oh, that was me. Ruminating. Worrying. Hustle mode. Yes, that was me. Overanalyzing. Yep. I think as a behavior analyst, I was paid for 15 years to problem solve. I was always in analytic mode. Trying to figure out the how. Oh my goodness. Yes, that was me. Working really hard. Yes. Blaming others. Victim mode. So blaming other people or your external circumstances for how you're thinking and feeling and the results you've created in your life. That's victim mode. Overcomplicating things. Healing mode. Spiritual practices. This is so interesting because I worked with a client who was like, yeah, but I've got to do my meditation. I've got to listen to my podcast. I've got to, do my breath work. And I was like, hang on a sec. It took me a while to really pick up on this, I have to admit. But I was like, I think you are escaping. And she was like, oh my God, I am. Quick decision making as well. Does anybody recognize? Claire's like, yes. TT's yes. Rossi says, yes, I swing from overworking to procrastination all the time. Yeah, it's such a common pattern. But the good thing is like if you have this awareness, this is your first red flag, right? When you notice yourself in any of these, I call them escape behaviors. Catherine says getting lots done, but it's all a little, yeah, that was me, Catherine, exactly the same. So it's like red flag, stop, just stop. Tools down. I always say to my clients, tools down, sit on your hands. You're not to do anything. This is your first red flag. Okay, stop. What next? How about these? Let's talk about the emotions that are driving those behaviors. So what are your typical sort of emotions that drive those behaviors from the previous slide? We've got frustration, confusion, numbness, overwhelm, skepticism, tired, lack of motivation, desperation. That comes up a lot with my ladies. Annoyed, defensive, irritable. So when you catch yourself in your escape behavior, procrastinating, working really hard, trying to figure out how, what comes before that? What state are you in? Louise says numb or anxious. Good, Louise, good awareness. Jeanette says overwhelmed. Yeah. So when you feel numb or anxious or overwhelmed, this is your escape state. Okay, so this is the state that you're in. And the best thing you can do at this point is to sit in it. Not fun, I know, but get used to what that feels like in your body. So all of my work, it's a massive focus on somatics in the body, less so much of it. There's a cognitive piece to it, of course, but there's a massive emphasis in the body. So I'm constantly saying to my clients, okay, what does overwhelm look like in your body? What does it feel like? What's your heart rate like? Is there a temperature to it? Is there a pace to it? Is there a sensation like a dullness, spikiness, throbbing? Like, what does it feel like? Get used to really identifying what your escape state feels like in your body, because then again, you can be aware you're in it. Okay, it's really important. Rossi says overwhelmed or anxious. Yeah. So get used to even separating anxiety and overwhelm out. Like, what's the differences in the body? Because it can be a bit smooshed in a lot of the time, right? So it's about separating out, okay, what comes first? Is it the overwhelm or is it the anxiety? Like separating them out and really getting to know your body better. So yeah, these I call these escape states, and they all indicate, whenever you're in one of these escape states, they all indicate an activated nervous system, which basically means you want to get back to safety. So you engage in the escape behaviors in the previous slide. Okay, so it's really your brain and your central nervous system working beautifully. But the paradox is it's not working out very well, right? Like, that's the point here. So it's really useful information, because it's like, well, it's not making me feel that safe in the long term, really, because I just feel a little bit anxious all the time or stressed all the time. So what's really interesting is when you're in those escape states, what you're actually avoiding is what I call your true present state. Okay, this is what we don't want to be in. So we escape into the escape state. It's too painful to be in sadness, to be in like yearning or desire, loss, grief, alone, and separateness. So I know this is getting a bit deep here, but this is what I've found, that what comes behind the escape states is this glimmer of a feeling of powerlessness. So it's like an internal trigger of like this sensation of, oh my God, I don't know, out of control, the unknown. And then that triggers sadness, loss, grief, aloneness. And that is not a fun place to be in. So we avoid that little loop and we escape into our escape states instead. This is so interesting. This is what I've uncovered over the last few months with the help of my mentor. And now I'm digging deeper into it. It's coming up every single time, is this link between powerlessness and sadness. People use different words, but it's the same sort of sensations. So that's what's going on behind all the escape states. So yeah, the reason you are doing anything is because of how you feel. right? Actions you're taking or not taking come from your feelings. And this is why all this piece with the emotions, emotional regulations is so vital. And that's the results of managing your thoughts. Okay, that's why this work is so important. Okay, so back to belief work. I sort of just Googled this. What is a belief? An acceptance that something exists or is true, especially one without proof. Trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. Okay. So how do you identify your limiting beliefs? So I've given you a little bit of context around like your escape behaviors is your red flag, then your escape states. But in more detail, what you want to do is pick a context or a situation, right? So it could be your business, could be your job, it could be your partner, it could be parenting, doesn't matter. Pick a situation that you're not quite happy with, right? You're not quite happy with how you're responding to. Then you want to identify the trigger. What specifically happens that makes you feel anxious, overwhelmed, confused, numbed out, whatever your state is? What has to happen to make you feel that way? Then you want to identify that emotion, the escape emotion. So when you get triggered, how do you feel? Then you want to identify the escape behavior. How do you respond to that state, to that emotion? So when you feel this, when you feel anxious, stressed, frustrated, what do you then do? Okay, write it all down. Then when the trigger happens to make you feel the emotion, where does your mind go? So when the trigger happens, where does your mind go that makes you feel emotion? And just write it down. Just don't think about this. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is just like whatever wants to come out, just let it come out. And then you want to take the answer from number 6 and ask this question. What do you believe about that trigger that makes you feel emotion? Sorry, that's the same. No, that's wrong. So that's the first question. What do you believe about trigger that makes you feel emotion? Then number 7, sorry, that should say, what do you believe about that belief, the one you've just uncovered, that makes you feel emotion? And you want to ask that several times to uncover, like usually about 4 to 6 times to uncover the layers of beliefs. So it's what do you believe about that belief that makes you feel emotion? What do you believe about that belief? And you keep going to identify your core beliefs. So, like I said, this is not an intellectual exercise. You have to really be in the emotion to be able to tap into the subconscious to really identify these core beliefs. And that's, I think, when you really need a coach to help you. Otherwise, it can just turn into a bit of a cognitive exercise. It doesn't work as well at all. You need to be in that state that you're trying to escape. So here's an example. So the trigger for this lady was thinking about doing a sales call, okay? And she goes into fear, afraid, and hopeless. And the behavior that how she typically responds when she's in that kind of state is she lowers her price and she's negotiating in her mind, okay? So the context is obviously preparing for a sales call. So when we uncovered her beliefs in this context for preparing for a sales call, here's the layer that we got. So they're not going to pay it anyway. It was the first thing that came to mind. So when I said to her, when you think, so the trigger can be external or internal. It could just even be thinking. It doesn't need to be something that's actually happened externally. So I said to her, when you think about doing a sales call, what's the first thing that comes to your mind that makes you feel afraid and hopeless? And she said, they're not going to pay it anyway. Okay, what do you believe about that makes you feel afraid and hopeless? I'll always be tight for money. Okay, what do you believe about that makes you feel afraid and hopeless? They'll take it away from me. And we kept going. And you can see here, she went from like thinking about doing a sales call all the way to it's a fight for life and death. It sounds bonkers, right? When you're looking at this, like, and you're not in it. But when you're in it, it's like, yeah, that's what I think. And it's just like, okay, yeah, no wonder that you're now behaving the way you are, because it's a fight for life and death, for God's sake. So it's really about, like, once you've uncovered all of this, step back, and really right size it. Because what she's done here is she's emotionalized it. She's got a pessimistic lens on and she's gone blown out of proportion. So we really need to work on right sizing it. So how do we do that? So when you've got these limiting beliefs, you can really, you step back and you quality control them. And I've got a really cool technique of doing that. In fact, I've got two techniques, but this is one of my favorites. So you want to think of something small and simple that you can easily say no to if I offered it to you right now. So most people would say, like, cigarettes or alcohol, or not me for alcohol. I love a glass of wine, but definitely cigarettes. I've never smoked in my life. Cigarettes is actually my thing I say no to. So just think of something small and simple that if somebody offered it to you. It might be Brussels sprouts, could be, I don't know, anything. You'd be like, oh, no, thanks. Like, that's not for me. And then be with that no in your body. What does that no feeling for cigarettes feel like in your body? Now, for me, it's just like my face is like turned, my hands are up. It's just such an easy no. Like, it's just like repulsed, like, no thanks. I'm not wanting a cigarette. No thanks. Rossi says, I love that statement, right sizing it. I'm going to think about that for myself in the future. Yeah, so powerful, Rossi. The right sizing. Yeah. And it's kept it stuck in place with the emotionalizing. So get the feeling of no, right? And then ask these questions. Does thinking like this serve me? No. Does this make your life a party? No. Does this allow you to take effective action or achieve your desired outcome? Hell no. Do you want to keep this? No, thanks. So once you've uncovered those layers of beliefs, you stepped into the feeling of no, then you're just layering up no, no, no. And I like to make it quite a hard, firm, like, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're not thinking like this anymore. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't light me up. Doesn't make my life a party. It doesn't help me get the results that I want. Claire, tense, constricted chest, small. Yeah, good awareness, Claire. Perfect. I'll share with you when I'll send out the replay, obviously, to this, and I'll share with you a really good handout that I send all my clients called The Language of Emotions. And it's just a 1-page little kind of cheat sheet to really give you some prompts about how to identify emotions in your body, basically. It's really good. Okay, so you're no. We're not doing this anymore. That's all the beliefs. You can also do another way of, like, rather than saying no, you can do like a sensation of releasing. So, like, if you can think of something small and simple that you have that feeling of releasing. So I like to think of like a helium balloon. You have to hold it really tight unless you let it go, and then it floats up to the sky. So you can have that feeling of, like, I'm going to release these beliefs. They're not serving me. I'm going to release them. That's another quite a nice way to do it. But what about then creating new beliefs? Imagining your future self. So this is really interesting, since I've been working on recently with this whole essence piece and sort of like making the sensation of powerlessness meaningless, because that's what's at the real core of this. People have started to really be able to tap into their essence once they've sort of peeled back all the layers of all the identities and all the rules and all the societal conditioning, and the beliefs just pour out of them. So but that's fairly new in terms of the work I've been doing recently. But this is how I would normally do it, is creating new beliefs. And I like to really imagine my future self. So how, first of all, just ask yourself, in the context of our example before with the sales conversation, how would you like to feel in this situation? Most people are like, I want to feel confident, I want to feel empowered, I want to feel relaxed, I want to feel joyful, all these lovely emotions. Okay, great. Next question. What do you need to believe about the trigger, the sales call, for example, that would allow you to feel this new emotion? Write it down. And then the same question about that belief. What do you need to believe about that first belief to make it true? And you ask that 4 to 6 times. And again, we're layering up these beliefs to really solidify this. So here's an example of that. So same context, preparing for a sales call. Okay. Same trigger, thinking of a sales call. But the state, she doesn't want to be afraid and hopeless anymore. She wants to be playfully creating, dedicated to the person. Sounds way better. And then imagining if you were in that state, what behavior would you do? Well, I'd hold my ground on the price, confronting when necessary, asking questions. Brilliant. Sounds great. Okay, so what do you need to believe about thinking of a sales call that would allow you to feel playful? So she said, I'm just finding out if I can help. Great. What do you need to believe about that to make it true? If I can help, I can make a difference. Amazing. What I have to offer is valuable. Yep. They're going to be better off after working with me. Yes. It's not about me. I love that one. They'd be crazy not to go for it if it makes a difference. Life is too important to be taken seriously. Yes. How nice are these, right? So how do we keep them? How do we say yes to them? Well, we do the exact same thing as we did with the no, but instead, what is something small and simple you could easily say yes to if I offered you it right now? Now, I'm always going to say yes to a cup of tea. So that's my yes. So what does that yes feel like in my body? So you always want to lean into the gestures, the body language. That my arms are normally open. There's going to be a nod, a soft smile, a kind of heart centery, sort of like expansive, like, yeah, just like a welcoming sort of feeling. It's warm. So tap into that feeling and then ask yourself the same questions. Do these new ways of thinking serve you? Yeah. From that feeling of yes for a cup of tea, does this make your life a party? Yes, these beliefs are way better, thanks. Does this allow you to take effective action or achieve your desired outcome? Yes. Do you want to keep them? Yes. And then I love this question. How do these new beliefs settle in your body? We've got to remember that this is not a cognitive exercise. We really want to feel the shift of energy in your body. Okay, I'm going to do a check-in. Is this making sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions about the yes and the no and identifying limiting beliefs and creating the new beliefs? I realize I'm talking very fast to zoom through this. Catherine says yes. Great. Okay, obviously I will send the replay and you can. Louise says yes. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Rosie. Amazing. Okay, so we've created these beautiful new beliefs that we've invested time and energy creating. How then do we signal to our brain that, hey, brain, this is really important and I would love for this to be lodged in as a subconscious belief? This is where there's really no fancy magic answer. Like people ask me, like, how long will this take? And I'm like, well, how long's a piece of string? It's repetition and feeling. But I do have to say, with my personal experience, if you want to fast track this and take a shortcut, then really start getting to know your body in terms of your emotions better. Your subconscious brain will take more notice when your emotions are involved. So you really want to like really connect with that emotion when you're thinking that new thought, that new belief, and that will help speed up this process. But it does take quite a lot of repetition. This is not a quick fix, because think of like if you've been thinking these ways for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, there's a bit of work to be done. But there's lots of little tips like post-it notes everywhere, putting your new beliefs on your phone and your wallpaper, putting them on your mirror and your wardrobe, putting them in your laptop, everywhere, as a reminder to you, as a visual prompt, like, no, this is how I want to think. This serves me better. So the mantra really is think, feel, act. That is, it's energy first, action second. That's my mantra. Okay, so remember, give your attention to thoughts that you want to think. That is the nuts and bolts of this. It's like where you place your attention, that is where you're going to focus in your life. That's what's going to show up in your life. If you're thinking in like scarcity and lack, I've got no money, I've got no time, guess what you're going to attract? More bills, less time. So when you see a thought and allow it to be there, this is quite a hard pill to swallow, but the reality is that you're choosing it. Okay, we have to really remember that just because you're thinking it doesn't make it true, and you can choose to say no to that thought and create a different one. The thing is with that though is that it takes energy, and one of the primary jobs of your subconscious brain is to conserve energy. So it's going to be like, nah, you know what? We're fine over here in our familiar, predictable ways of thinking and feeling. Let's just stay here where it's safe and cozy. So that's what it takes, like an ambitious woman to be like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I'm prepared to actually expend some energy to think and feel over here the way I want to show up. So yeah, be before you become. I just love this phrase. You might have seen this on my social media. I just love this phrase. It's really about, like that whole like fake it till you make it. How about just be it? How about just be now? Just make a decision now that you're going to shift into this new identity. because action can't trump negative thoughts. I tried for years, and I'll tell you, it did not work. So clean up your thinking and the way you feel, and then take action. So you can live into your future by thinking about it, not actioning your way into it. And I don't mean to be like I don't want you to think I'm trying to say like be in your future all the time. Like you can absolutely spend time being with your your future self and your goals, but totally be present in the now as well. Okay, so your future self. I think this is just so valuable. Practice thinking and feeling from your future self. That's the work required to make your dreams your reality. What would my future self be thinking? What would she be doing? She wouldn't be drinking wine every night. She wouldn't be lying in every morning. She'd be up. She'd be connecting with people. She'd be exercising. She'd be eating healthily. You know, this is just me making this stuff up, but like really thinking about what would she be doing? The me that already has everything I already want. Energy first, then inspired action. So when we start to create our thoughts and beliefs from the future, when we choose what we want to believe and start thinking enough to believe it, your life will automatically change. I mean, mine did. Okay, ladies, obvious question. Stay where you are or take a quantum leap into a new state of being. So I'm going to share some information with you. I'll just be really quick because I know we're already 5 minutes over and I've got a client in about 20 minutes. But I'm going to share some information about how we can work together. So I've kind of gone through a little bit of a rebrand recently. I just love this whole idea of success becomes her. And this is the name of my program. I have one signature program and I deliver it as a one-to-one and I deliver it in a group format. So it's really about shifting your mindset from the past focus, all the experiences that you've had, all the societal conditioning, to future focus. And we're going to work on embodying these new beliefs, processing your feelings healthily. So without escaping them, being with powerlessness, being with that yearning or desire, being with that sadness, whatever comes up. And then something I've not talked about at all in this, but using your imagination to create exactly what you want. It is such an undervalued resource that we have, the power of visualization. I need to do another masterclass on that. So it's a 12-week program. And really my whole goal for the women who go through this program, and it's a specific set of change patterns, I call them, a bit like interventions, I guess. But by the end, I want everybody to feel much more confident and empowered and resilient and optimistic, which means then you'll be able to focus more on attracting your dream clients, dream home, dream life, like just fill in the blank there. So I want everyone to be able to step out of their comfort zone. So, you know, we stay in our comfort zone, right? Because it's cozy and safe. But imagine if you could step out of your comfort zone rather from a place of like contracted fear, but with like ease and excitement. This is like I've been working on this for the past few years, and I absolutely embrace stepping out of my comfort zone now. Which means for a lot of business owners, you'll be able to put yourself out there. You'll be able to post on social media. That comes up all the time. I don't want to post on social media. What will people think? Increase your visibility. Charge rates that feel exciting for you. And the other thing I really think this course helps with is being able to face and manage any obstacles that come your way. Because let's face it, that's life, right? You're going to be faced with obstacles, but especially as an entrepreneur, there's going to be obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. If you ever want to do personal development, become an entrepreneur, because all your shit comes up when you try and build a business. And I think this one as well, for me, this has been a big thing. Having been in that space in my autism business where I was just constantly in my head, thinking about my clients all the time, and just sort of going through the motions, like physically there with my babies, like being more present, rather than constantly thinking of your to-do list and how you're going to grow your business. The other thing a lot of people get is clarity and focus. So a lot of times I get women who are like, I just don't know what I want to do with my life and, you know, with my business or my career, and you keep going and going, and another year pass. But once you can really step into your desired state of being, it's like, I've got this blank canvas in front of me. And it's almost like becoming like an architect of your life. So you can stop doing all the things and feeling like you're spinning and actually get clear on what it is you really want to do. and create. So there's 3 parts to my program, 3 phases. The first is the clearing and healing, which I talked about earlier. Then there's the awakening and aligning, and then there's the inspired action. So I've already mentioned this, but clearing and healing is basically getting to the root cause of why you feel stuck. And it's really about taking ownership. So we don't want to be in that victim mode of like, I'm here because he said that and she did this and da da da. No, we want to take ownership of your patterns, and we really want to work on building a solid sense of safety. It's all about regulating your central nervous system in that first part of the program. Because once you have that, then it's like those blinkers, like, the ones with the horses, the blinkers come off and your eyes are open. You are open to possibilities. You can see opportunities. The second stage is awakening and aligning. So this basically means when you are aligning with a new way of being so that you can maintain that elevated state, that nice emotion that you're now in that attracts the result you want. So in this stage, we work a lot more on surrendering more and more to trust and letting go, which I as I say that, I'm like, that sounds really woo, doesn't it? But it was the most crucial part for me, because like myself, like a lot of the women I work with, like to feel like we're in control. So we, create a beautiful course, we put it out there, and then it's like, oh, I want to know who's interested, and what's happening. And of course, you don't have control over the other people. So like to really let go and trust is a huge part of this. And then you don't have to control the outcome or operate from sheer force and willpower, which is absolutely where I used to be, and it was miserable. And the last piece is just the really nice, fun bit. It's taking inspired action. So you'll learn to connect deeply with your intuition and listen to those nudges and messages and insights that guide you to take inspired action from this place. And I love to sort of talk about ease and flow, because it's like when you're in that sort of feminine energy of receiving and nurturing and creating, it's like no-brainers. You'll just get these light bulb moments. You're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Why did I not think of that before? Yeah, I'm definitely going to run with that, rather than that's kind of pushy, forced action. So I'm not going to, you can press pause if you want to call this, but I've just worked with beautiful clients. So there's some lovely words from other people who I've worked with. So for my one-to-one, I only take a handful of women to work one-to-one with, because I go all in, and I really want you to think of me as like a coach in your pocket. So like I said, we go through within those 3 stages. There are specific interventions that go way beyond mindset. And like I said earlier, they really address the whole mind, body, emotion, soul system. So it's a 12-week program. You get 12 one-to-one coaching calls with me. You get lifetime access to all the change patterns as recorded audios. That's basically your homework in between our sessions. I'm like, go and listen to this and actually practice doing it in your daily life. There's some tasks and resources and workbooks also available to you. So I had planned to put my price up for my one-to-ones to £4,000 in May, and then I realized it's actually May tomorrow. So it's £3,500, and I'll put the price raise off for a few days. If you are interested, we can hop on a connection call over the next few days, but they will be going up very, very soon. There's a couple of payment plans as well. If that helps and makes it easier for you in terms of the financial outlay, then that's absolutely fine. I've got 2 spots at the minute. I've got 2 ladies having babies that they've had to wrap things up. Will kind of put things on hold. I've got 2 spots open at the minute for one-to-ones, and you can absolutely email me or message me on Facebook to chat about that more. Or I've come up with this other idea, and I've never actually done this before. Normally I run my one-to-one course as a group, but because this, and I normally run it in like term time with the school term time, because I've got 3 children, but there wasn't an awful lot of time in this term, in this spring to summer term, to do the full program. So I've sort of taken that first stage, that healing and clearing stage, and I'm going to run that as a program in and of itself. And I thought, the shift, that's such a cool name for this. So I've called it the shift, and it's 6 weeks, and it's just that first stage of healing and clearing and really getting to the root core of like what's going on. So it's going to be 6 weeks. The doors close on by the end of this week because I want to kick it off on the 13th of May. And it's going to be like a hybrid. So we always do that one-to-one breakthrough call. That's essential. We have to dig deep into what's going on and all the things that I talked about in this masterclass. And then once we've done that, with a small group of women, I'm only going to take 8. I think there's 6 spaces left. Like 2 have already gone. We're going to literally go through the core change patterns of that stage 1. So I think I wrote them. Yeah, I've got a little slide about it here. So the first one's a breakthrough session. That's the deep dive. Then the first call is called Mastering Your Powers. And it really gets you out of that victim mode. It gets you out of people pleasing, taking over responsibility for others. And it helps you feel like you are in control and in charge of your emotions and your words that you speak and the actions that you take. It's really empowering. Then the second group coaching call, we're going to work on what's called the liberated self. This focuses on those 2 fears of fear of not being good enough and the fear of being rejected and abandoned, and all of the distorted thinking patterns that hold those in place. So we're going to separate who you are from what you do. Okay, your human being from your human doing. Because having a solid sense of self-worth that is independent from what other people say or do, or don't say or do, as well as your successes and mistakes, is absolutely crucial to move out your comfort zone. It's so true. This was a massive one for me when I first started this work, because like I said earlier, like my sense of self-worth was chipped away because I literally had that thought of I'm only worth £30 for the webinars. I made my sense of self-worth dependent on the outcome of my success or mistake. The next one is building an attitude of optimism. So many of us take things personally, we make things permanent, and we make them pervasive, the 3 Ps of pessimism. So we really want to work on building a sense of optimism. And with this comes in that resilience, that bounce back ability. So this pattern, we're really going to work on giving yourself permission to feel all and any emotions. We're going to build that sense of optimism, and we're going to rewrite a new narrative, the new beliefs, similar to what we did in the presentation today with the yes and the no. Really powerful one, that one. And then the next one is trust. So this is one where we really tap into the imaginative space. It's called your semantic space, the imaginary space around you. And this is another really powerful one. I did it with a one-to-one client yesterday, and she was just like, I need to lie down after that. It was bonkers, the stuff that came up, but it's really about moving everything so that you can relax into trust without needing to cling on to kind of fix it or figure out the how or obsessively overanalyze stuff. And then the last one we're going to do is envisioning a new you. It's just a beautiful one that wraps up the big 4, I call them, the previous 4. We summarize them in envisioning a new you, and you get to go through it's if you're a kinesthetic learner, you'll love this one because you can do it walking. You get to go through this process of awakening to a new desired state, and you let go and forget of all of the kind of old way of thinking and feeling and responding, and you walk into your desired state. So it's a really nice one to finish on. So yeah, that's my plan to do that, the shift. And then if you sign up with either the shift or the one-to-one, you can get access to my Empowered Business Bootcamp. So this is like a little mini course, and it's got some fab wee trainings in it, some exercises. It's all online, just self-study. So that's a nice little bonus. And yeah, just remind yourself why you're here. Like I put these slides in, so I was like, we need to remind ourselves why did you even turn up here, spend over an hour listening to me? Because it's time to move beyond the superficial, right? It's time to move beyond just listening to podcasts and reading books and really connect with your infinite potential. And I just believe this so much. Everybody has a secret sauce. It's time to share your gifts with the world. Your people are out there right now waiting for you to make yourself visible and known. And also, I hope you'd agree with me in saying this, but it's time to let go of the societal norms and limiting beliefs that have shaped your narrative and start writing a new one. So one that your future self can't wait for you to start embodying. Okay. Are there any questions? I'm so sorry I went massively over time there, but if anyone's got any questions, I've got a couple of minutes. And obviously you can message me and or email me, whatever is easiest. But I really hope you enjoyed this masterclass.